I'll be covering page number 11. Page 11, this is going to be number 1. Okay, so this is going to be a basic plugging in question. You know that you're going to plug in for this question because you see answers in the variable. So take a look at your paper with me. What is the variable? The variable is C. In A, B, C, D, you see a C in all those answer choices. When you see that, you know you got to plug in a number. Okay, so I always ask you, what is the easiest number to plug in? And your answer should always be 2. Okay, so we're going to say that, oh, well, let me write out this initial question. It's a C times 3C plus 6 minus 5C. Okay, so we want to know which of the following, A, B, C, D, is equivalent to this right here. So what I'm going to do is, I don't know what this actually equals, so I'm going to plug in a number. Okay, and so I could plug in a number right now, or I could first distribute this and then plug in the number. Okay, so what I'm going to do first, I'll just distribute it first. I'm going to go like that and like that. Okay, so 3C times C is 3C squared plus 6C, and that's going to be all minus 5C. Okay, so now we're going to say C equals 2. So we're going to plug in, so this is a number that I'm plugging in myself. We're going to take that number and plug it in, okay? So 3 times 2 squared, okay, plus 6 times 2. And that whole quantity minus 5 times 2. So we know that this is 4. 2 squared is 4. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 6 times 2 is 12. Okay, 12 plus 12 is 24. Okay, that minus 10, 5 times 2 is 10, is going to equal 14. So basically, this whole thing is going to equal 14. This is my target number, everybody. Let me get my bell. I'm going to get it ready to ring for you. Okay, so what you have to do is go to answer A, and answer A was negative C plus 6. You would take the 2 and you plug it into the answer, and that would be negative 2 plus 6. That's going to equal 4. 4 does not equal 14. A is out. Okay? Then you're going to go to 2, and then you're going to plug it into the next one. The next one is 3C squared minus C. Okay, so you take the 2 and you plug it in. That's 2 squared is 4 times 3 is 12 minus C. That equals 10. 10 does not equal 14. Cross out B. Okay, and then if you go to answer C, sorry, this is answer C here. It's 3C squared plus C. That's going to be, plug in your 2. 2 squared times 3 plus 2. So that's going to be 4. 2 squared is 4 times 3 is 12 plus 2. And look, match made in heaven. Okay, so if you didn't understand that, please rewind, or else I'm moving on. Okay. Okay, before I begin number 4, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a lesson right now, because you may or may not have learned this. If you have never learned this before, I want you to memorize this. Okay, it's going to be with fractions as exponents. Let's just say you get a number like 16. Okay, that's the base number to the half. Hopefully you guys have learned this in math class, but how this works is you take this number and you swing it around over here, and then you put a hood on it, and then you cross that number out. That is the same thing as square root of 16, which equals 4. So I want you to remember this. 16 to the half equals this. I swung the 2 over this way, then put the square root sign, and I crossed the number 2 out. Then it equals 4. Let me show you another one. This one could be like, I'm just going to come up with any crazy number, okay? Ooh, that looks pretty ugly, right? 17 to the 13 over 14th power, that is super ugly. But you just do the same thing, okay? You take this 14 and you swing it over here, and you put this down, and then you just leave the 13 there. You don't use that 14 down there. That is the same thing. I just want you to know that. because this is going to be tested over and over and over on the SAT. I'll give you a realistic one now. I'm trying to think of a number. Okay, 9 to the half. Okay, 9 to the half is the same thing as square root of 9. Do you get that? So that would equal 3. So I hope you guys understand that. Now I'm going to move on. So this is now page 11, number 4. Okay, it says, which of the following expressions is equivalent to 2a to the half right here? Now, for this one, actually, I didn't plug in a number. You could plug in a number, but instead what I did was I used that law that I just told you guys about. Basically, there is an invisible 2 right here, right? Because if there's no number like 3, 4, you always assume that it's a 2. And then that means over here, there's like an invisible 1. That's why I'm doing it in little dots. So this quantity, 2a to the half, it's the same thing as taking the 1 and let's swing the 2 back over here. It's just the same thing as this. And I want you guys to see why, because if I took this number and I wanted to make it into a square root sign, I would take the 2 and I would swing it over on this side and it would be square root of 2a half. Okay, so again, this right here, when I take the square root sign away, it becomes to the half because that 2 gets swung back over to this side and put under the division sign. Okay, so now when I do this, that's the same thing I know as this half. Remember in the exponent rule, this half needs to get multiplied to this number, and then this half needs to get multiplied to this number. Okay, so 2 to the half times a half times a half is a fourth. Okay, now when you look at the answer choices, the answer is A, because look, the answer choice goes like this though. But look, do you guys see that if we swung this 2 over on this side and we put this hood over, it would be a square root of 2, and then the A will leave it the same way as it is, 1 over 4. And that's your match. Okay, number 6. For number 6, it says, which of the following is equivalent to m over 2 times 6m minus 4 over 3m plus 1? So this one is basic. You see again in all the answer choices, A, B, C, D. You see all of these answer choices have the letter M. So therefore, you know that you got to choose your own number. Okay, so let's choose our own number. What's the easiest number we should always start with? 2. Okay, so we're going to say m equals 2. So let's plug 2 into this equation, okay, right over here. That's going to be the 2, I'm going to plug it in right there, so that's going to be 2 over 2 times 6 times, I'm going to plug that 2 in right there, 2 minus 4 up on the top, and 3 times, I'm going to plug the 2 in right there, plus 1. 2 over 2 always equals what, everybody? 1. Okay, any number over itself equals a 1. So basically, we could just ignore this because anything that it's going to multiply is just going to be itself. So that's just there. 6 times 2 is 12 minus 4. And then 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1. So we're going to end up getting 8 over 7. And that's going to be our target number. Because look, 8 over 7 times 1 is going to be 8 over 7. That's our target number. Okay? And what you would have to do is plug it into each one. Okay? So look at this one. 2m over 6m plus 2. You take the 2. This 2, you plug it in here. So that'd be 2 times 2 times over 6 times 2 plus 2. That's 4 over 12 plus 2, 14. That's not a match. That's out. Okay? You would do the same thing for B. Same thing with C. And let me just go to D because that's the correct answer and I could save some time. 6m plus 2. So you're going to take your number 2 and you're going to plug this number in over here. 6 times 2 squared minus 4 times 2 over 6 times 2 plus 2. This is going to give you 4 times 6 is 24 minus 8 over 12 plus 2, which is 14. Okay, so 24 minus 8 equals 16 over 14. Can this be reduced? Yeah, take 2 out of each one. So if you divide 2 out of 16, it's going to be 8. Take 2 out of this one, it's going to be 7. Ding, ding, ding. Match made in heaven. Okay, so now let's do the last one, which is number 7. I'm going to show you guys a shortcut to this one, okay? Where you don't have to actually do the math. So it says, in football, a player's statistics for offensive yards is the sum. Okay, so I'm just going to write this out. Offensive yards. Offensive yards equals the sum of rushing yards. So rushing yards plus, and I'm adding it because it says sums, and then the receiving yards. Okay, so this is what they give us in the first sentence. Okay, so it says, again, in football, a player's statistics for offensive yards is the sum, which is addition, of his rushing yards and his receiving yards in a game. Ali is the running back on a football team. He averages 60 yards rushing. Okay, so 60 yards rushing and 20 yards receiving per game. So together his offensive yards would be 80. Okay, but it says receiving during the regular season. It says during playoff games, Ali's rushing yards are 12% greater. Okay, so it's going to be 12% greater on average. So you know that you're going to be multiplying this by, and because it says greater, you have to first multiply it by 100 and then plus 0.12. Okay, so it's going to be, so let's look at this. You know that this one is going to be the one that's going to get multiplied by 12%. Okay, so right away, when you look at the answer choices, I'm going to actually write this out so I could talk you guys through it. Yeah, he got 60 here and 20 there, but does it say that his that all of it gets added together, then it gets multiplied by 12% greater? No, it says only the rushing yards. So if you look at this one, the percentage, even though this percentage is wrong, you could eliminate this one because it adds in the 20. Nobody mentioned about the receiving yards getting added in there. Okay, and then if you look at the next one, it says 1.12 times 60p plus 20. Okay, and then in this question, you know that this one isn't it either because it's not mentioning, you know, how many it could be. There's no variable with p. Okay, and then for C, you got 1.12 times 60p plus 20p. Again, they're adding it together, then multiplying it. That is not correct. Okay, and then the last one is 60p plus 20p. And then they do the multiplication for only the 60. And the reason why it's 1 is because it is, it says specifically that it's 12% greater. So 12% greater on average. Okay, so you're adding in the 100% that it is plus the 12%, which makes it 1.12. Okay, and again, this one is multiplied to only the 60, which is why D is the answer.